Today's episode is brought to you by the Silkscreen Arts Organization, which has been building bridges between East and West since 2005. Silkscreen's annual festival is taking place this month in Pittsburgh from September 22nd through the 30th. The festival features over 25 new films from India, China, Japan, Turkey, and many other countries. For the festival schedule and more information, visit www.silkscreeningfestival.org or follow us on Twitter or Instagram at SilkscreenPGH. The first 5 listeners to the Cinema Psycho show to follow Silkscreen will receive 2 free tickets for a screening at the festival. Again, follow the Silkscreen Film Festival on Twitter and Instagram at SilkscreenPGH.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Laine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Kyneton, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Laine Woolscroft.
But mostly John.
Not mostly John by half.
Mostly John.
Oh.
Not mostly by half. We're all three a tripod on this amazing, we're a leg on this tripod of crazy.
Let me check your math.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the same.
Did you get the same?
You got the same? You got the same?
Well,
You
I'm
did the
glad.
math? So, we're on episode 114,
God
folks.
damn.
Yeah,
Look at us
seriously,
go.
goddamn. So, we're on episode 114, and this one is actually going to be kind of personal. So you might want to get a little closer to the mic. Or the headphones.
You might want to slip into something sexy.
I want to get in really close. We're going to get personal, guys.
We're all going to whip it out and compare.
Listen to how husky
compare
your voice
moles.
got.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Oh, that's my sensual voice.
It also be your
Sensual voice.
NPR voice.
My NPR voice.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's my film twat voice.
always.
But anyway, we're going to be going over our personal top 10 favorite movies of all time.
This is going to be exciting because I feel like we're free from the constraints of, we feel like it changed cinema or it's critically acclaimed. Like, no, this is just what makes our hearts happy.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. I didn't know that going in. So my list was going to be like some very heady shit like, oh yes, well this is the part in which the art of cinema changed.
Well, we were going to originally do our 10 favorite and then what we thought were the 10 best, but that would have probably ended up being like 6 hours.
Yeah,
so,
something like that.
And people would have grown tired of lists by that point.
Pretty
so
much.
We just decided to do our personal favorites. What tickles our pickles? Or Laine, I don't know. What zits your clit? I don't know.
My lady pickle.
Okay.
Your lady pickle.
Yeah.
Phantom
Yeah.
dick. I mean, yeah.
Phantom dick syndrome.
So it's going to be a fun episode. Before we get to that, though, before we get to all that stuff, we've got 3 news bits from each one of us. Now, who wants to go first in this cavalcade of news?
I'll start this.
You'll start this one
Yeah.
off? Okay.
Why don't we go first, then Brian, you can go last.
Okay.
Dearest Burt, we hardly knew ye.
Not Ernie.
All right.
Actually, that's not even
Burt and
true.
Ernie?
He was in his 80s. Yeah, Burt Reynolds passed away. Partly the reason we didn't... Obviously, this guy is an icon in American cinema. We didn't want to do the entire news story on it because while I think we've all seen a bunch of his films, we weren't huge fans of Burt Reynolds, and we kind of miss his heyday, so there we would be grasping at straws. So, but I mean, it is a big news story.
I mean, for me, I think the only film that even resonates with Burt Reynolds is Boogie Nights.
Yeah, and that was a lot of what the articles mentioned.
Career.
Yeah.
Which, when I saw it, I thought that was very interesting. They said, Boogie Nights actor dies. And I'm like, wait, this guy's in Smokey and the Bandit?
Exactly.
Like, Deliverance, this is... And you pick Boogie... I mean, it's probably in his top 5, but still, an odd choice. It'd be like if Jamie Lee Curtis died and they were... Prom night.
Yeah,
actress died. It's like,
or it's like... I think she did a lot more than that.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, one of the earliest works I saw Burt Reynolds in was the delightful summer getaway romp Deliverance, which
Deliverance.
Yeah.
Just a fun little summer movie.
It is.
Yeah, I think I'm the only person that owns this movie.
Yeah, I think you are.
About a bunch of grown men getting raped by inbred people in the woods.
Make you squeal, piggy.
Yeah. Obviously, I think the most that he's most known for. I mean, The Longest Yard is pretty popular, but he's mostly known for Smokey and the Bandit. That's it's a very select audience there, but that's to them that's their Graceland.
Yeah.
Is Smokey and the Bandit, and Brian, as you mentioned, Boogie Nights. The guy had been working here. The first thing he did was a TV series in like 1958.
Really?
Yeah, I mean he was in his 80s, so he's been around forever. His IMDb page here has 186 acting credits.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he hadn't been doing well for a while. I remember Steel City Con here in Pittsburgh. They've been upping their celebrities.
I've noticed that.
Yeah,
like they've really been getting some bigger names.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, it was like Yakov Smirnoff and like the Ralph Mouse stunt double. But now, they had Burt Reynolds there, and they were kind of like hinting at like this will probably be Burt Reynolds' last appearance. Do not miss this opportunity. Kind of wink, wink. He's not going to be alive much longer. Kind of.
Those are always the sad announcements.
Yeah. But I mean, he's been he was in the industry for over 60 years. A huge
Kind of did
name.
the same thing with Martin Landau, didn't they?
Yeah.
They're like, he's gonna be here. Wink, wink. Yeah. He gonna die.
Martin Landau actually went to the bathroom and he walked right by me, and I was like, if I yell boo right now, I'll kill him. Local idiot kills Martin Landau. But yeah, so rest in peace, Burt. Not everybody gets to make it to their 80s, so thankfully we're not saying, Burt Reynolds dead at 35.
That's true.
He did live a long life, and made a mark. So.
Cool. Yeah, it's such a shame.
So, Laine, what's your news story?
So mine comes a little closer to Pittsburgh. I do have another death to mention for us guys. I'm sorry to be a bummer.
Danny boy.
But we also lost Mac Miller. He passed away at the age of 26, and he died last week.
That's terrible.
He was a rapper and producer, and he was from here.
Yeah,
he was from Pittsburgh. So he was really popular. I know he had a lot of strong roots to the community. And we don't have a full answer yet, but the main thought is that cardiac arrest due to a drug overdose. If anyone is struggling with addiction, we think about you guys and hope that you're able to reach out and to try to make your story a little bit different than Mac Miller's. We're just seeing a lot of the details come out now. Some of it's I think it's a little nosy. I don't know. TMZ is just so gross. Like they
seriously,
people they want to see the innards. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's just somebody from TMZ like snapped a picture of Mac Miller's brother like carrying beer to his parents' like Pittsburgh house in preparation for his funeral. Like they're trying to make preparations, and they're trying to he's trying to bury his brother. They're trying to bury his son, and this is a photo of his brother. Like that's weird.
That's horrible.
That is the sick price of fame, though.
The vultures are in now. His brother, so Mac Miller's brother is Miller McCormick, and I think Mac's real name is Malcolm.
Yeah.
But Miller McCormick was just he was the personal rep to handle the estate, and it's interesting too that and I hate that I know this now too, but Mac Miller did have a will, and he drew it up when he was 21. That's pretty unusual for someone to do, but he has had kind of a dark history.
He's had a history of drug and alcohol abuse.
Alcohol abuse, exactly. So. Some really important lessons to be learned here. Obviously, if anyone's struggling with addiction, we definitely want you to get help for that. But a lot of people are blaming Ariana Grande.
Yeah,
Ariana,
I was saying
is it
that.
Ariana?
I think it's
I feel
Ariana.
like I'm saying it wrong.
Ariana
Grande. Yeah, Ariana Grande. Okay. But a lot of people are blaming her because they broke up. She's 25 to his 26, but they were together for a while. And, I think in large part, due to her support, he was able to get sober for a while. But people were like, "Oh, you broke up with her, or you broke up with him, and now look at him, and blah blah blah."
He's dead because of you. That's horrible shit.
It is not on. It's not on the onus of a woman to care for the man in her relationship, you know, in this case, like I think that society really puts that onus on women to fix men. And I think that that's also extremely problematic, extremely upsetting, and
it's unfair. I'm sorry.
Incredibly unfair.
It is extremely unfair. Honestly, I wouldn't even just say on anyone. It seems like anyone in a relationship. It suddenly is always, oh, well, they died unexpectedly and tragically.
It's your fault.
So it must be the other person's fault.
Right.
They must have done something wrong.
Right.
When it ultimately, I mean, I don't know Mac Miller personally. The only thing I can suggest is just that he had demons.
Yeah, like anybody does, and
he succumbed to.
You know, and it's a shame. I mean, John and I had a friend that died of an overdose.
Same
too.
here.
It's awful.
Same
I
here.
mean, we all know somebody. I think, especially in Pennsylvania, like with the opioid crisis.
I was going to say
it's insane.
It didn't used to be that way. Like,
No.
where everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah. Nobody's like, no, I don't know anybody that.
Well,
had
that's
an
how
overdose,
Narcan came out.
Yeah.
That's how Narcan was able to be distributed in Pennsylvania, because there were so many deaths in Pennsylvania from an overdose that's how they were able to get the legislation pulled through, because they were like, this is going to save lives. That's what saved Demi Lovato's life.
Yeah.
Demi Lovato would have died of an overdose if she hadn't been given Narcan.
I think, unfortunately, we live in a world where, I mean, it's everybody that I know has met someone or known someone that has died from drug overdoses, from
Absolutely,
opioids.
it shouldn't be that way. But
And it's horrible. And it's horrifying to know that everyone that you meet has pretty much been touched by this epidemic. And that's exactly what it is. It's an epidemic. Same as AIDS is an epidemic, same as any sort of disease is an epidemic. It affects everyone.
It does. It does.
And, you know, you can't blame the other person who's in that relationship for the demons that unfortunate people succumb to.
Well, I don't know if they just broke up because, you know, their relationship was going south for other reasons.
Right.
But anybody will tell you that you have to let somebody hit rock bottom, and the best thing is to not let their toxic life, if they've reached a certain point, bring you down either. And you're supposed to walk away from them until they are willing to change something in their life. So it actually is the best thing for them to walk away from them. You know, that's what any professional will tell you. So she did. Not only is she not to blame anyways, because that's stupid, but she did the right thing. Absolutely.
And that was actually, I was reading about, you know, Demi Lovato, who's still with us, and I read that they had done like the intervention thing, like we are going to leave, blah, blah, blah. And she couldn't get it turned around until people were like, cool, so we're leaving and we've left and goodbye. And like they had walked away from her, and she realized because her mom wouldn't let her see her little sister anymore. Yeah. And she was like, no, you don't get to see your sister until you're clean. And that was like one of the big motivating factors for her to get clean one of the times.
Well, that's what David Spade, you know, back in the day when Chris Farley was still alive, they wanted to do like another Tommy Boy Black Sheep kind of thing, and he said, I refuse to work with Chris until he's clean. Like he's one of my best friends, but I won't, you know, be a part of this until he can be guaranteed that he's clean.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, Ariana Grande tried to support his sobriety, and when people called her out, she wrote right back and said, look, I'm not his mom. I did my best to support him when I could, but, you know, ultimately it was up to him to do what he needed to do. And, you know, it breaks my heart that it ended this way. But, you know,
I mean,
also calling people out, like, you know, this wasn't my responsibility.
There's only so much that you can do. Ultimately,
Absolutely.
it's everyone's individual responsibility to get themselves together.
Absolutely. So it's a damn shame. You know, he was really talented. So just as usual, guys, like if you need help with, you know, addiction, please go get it, and let's not blame significant others.
That's right.
For such things, and yeah, you know, just thinking about his family and everything, especially with the Pittsburgh connection, thinking about them. So,
my new story.
Let's take a step away from death.
I mean, it is kind of, you know, death of good things. There you go. Here's one thing. So let me ask the audience here, and this is more or less a proverbial question. How many of you guys have bought digital media? Okay,
I have.
Like a movie or something like that. Actually bought. I'm not talking about renting. I'm talking about actually buying a movie on iTunes or Amazon Prime or any of these sorts of things.
oh yeah, I literally
absolutely.
bought the Veronica Mars movie after binging the entire series. I was like, I can't wait, need it now, buying it.
Well, now I'm an old person, so I haven't bought much because I still actually like tangible Blu-rays, or if it's a movie.
You mean you like touching your movies?
Yeah, holding them in my hand. I still even like CDs, which people are like, what? CDs? What is that, old man? But yeah, obviously everybody's done some level,
right?
Purchasing.
So this story comes from Forbes, and the title of it is "Apple is deleting bought films from iTunes accounts and don't expect a refund." Yeah.
That's insane. So now this is if you've just bought it through the iTunes platform, right?
Correct.
So like if I had not that I'm saying that I had a code for a digital copy of Frozen through my copy of Frozen on Blu-ray, and I redeemed that, and it's through iTunes.
I don't know.
They can't come out.
I don't know. I don't know about that. So
coming after Elsa.
The main story, this is from John Archer. He's a contributor with Consumer Tech, and basically the account is of a user in Canada who had a number of his films deleted off of his account.
Which he was probably way too polite about.
He probably was. He had bought these movies. And they responded with, "Our ability to offer refunds diminishes over time. Hence, your purchases don't meet the conditions for a refund." Because basically what had happened was they deleted these movies primarily because of the licensing agreements that Apple has with the movie studios. Okay.
Is the idea they just want you to buy it again?
Yeah.
But if it's not available, that could be a problem too.
That's the whole thing.
Well, the issue with the time issue is something I'm familiar with Apple, because there's only so much time Apple will allow before they'll give you a refund. Kind of like in a store, like at Best Buy, you buy a new computer and you have 14 days to return it. Something like that. It's longer, but there is a statute of limitation for dissatisfaction with them.
The point is that this user had bought movies through iTunes as actual bought movies, not rentals. That's the most important part here. In that, I guess because of the fact that the studios or whoever the distribution licensor was, they decided that iTunes was not going to be a platform they were going to use anymore. So, ergo, because the distributor doesn't want that on iTunes anymore, that's stripped out of the account of the person who bought that movie. So it's not like in the bad old days where you bought a physical copy, and if Joe Schmo distributor decided, hey, I don't want to put out DVDs anymore, they're not going to come by and take your DVD out of your hand. Okay?
Right.
That's the whole point here. Now, iTunes tried to give this guy rentals and say, here you go, here's 2 free rentals. But obviously, if he wanted that movie that was deleted, that's not really going to help.
Well, too,
Here's
rentals
a Kit
is
Kat
ridiculous.
And a punch to the dick. There you go.
Now,
did you say a Kit Kat and a punch to the dick?
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that it was also reported that 4K HDR movies were being downgraded to HD.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So if you bought it in
People really
4K...
won't be able to see the difference, then they know it.
Well, if you bought it in 4K, then it would just be HD. You probably paid more for it to be 4K, though.
Yeah. So people are buying these movies as 4K, and they're getting them as HD.
That's crazy town.
Especially with people now having, Apple TVs that can do it 4K, they're noticing the difference. It wasn't like before where, everything HD is, HD. So, the thing is that to note that as far as this article is concerned, they're not saying that this hasn't happened in America yet, but you could imagine that, let's say a foreign film or something like that, if it were to happen here, it would happen over something along those lines.
Well, you would think.
And it's really all has to come down to the fact that, the licensing bullshit, how does it affect digital content that you buy?
Well, I think that's so fascinating, too, because, everyone's like, oh, digital's the wave of the future. I'll tell you what, I'm going through my DVDs and I'm upgrading them to Blu-rays. I like having the tangible thing. And I know that it's, probably kind of anti-modern of me, but truly I have it. And if I can't get a digital thing where I can download it and have it, at least the file, I don't see the point.
Now, we're old. Don't forget that.
We're old as shit.
Yeah.
I get that.
But
and there's something nice that's wireless about having a movie and being able to have it on your computer or on your phone or wherever you go. You're like, ooh, I have that thing. Yeah. But at the same time, how is buying a movie off of iTunes going to be any different than having Netflix now? Because Netflix movies come and go.
Here's my solution to that. Buy the movie. So support whoever the artist is or whoever the studio is. And then rip the movie, and there you go.
Yeah, and then you have a digital copy
I know
of it.
that's not the popular view, like I know the studios don't want you to know that, but legally you do have
You own it.
Well, how many
right.
times did people like buy a CD back in the day? He's
Right.
like, oh man, can you burn me a copy of that? Sure. That's exactly what you just said.
Well, my point
Yeah.
is that it's already been resolved that you are legally allowed to make a single copy of a thing that you've bought.
Well, because the physical copy of the item itself pretty much serves as your license for
Exactly.
it. That's your license
Now,
for one
this
digital
isn't to
copy.
this isn't to say go and take that digital copy and distribute it all over the place.
Do
I'm
not share it
saying
with
that.
others, no.
But for your own devices, and this is why you do see movies that do have now digital copies included, because it's been established that you do have a right to a digital copy
Sure.
of something you've purchased.
Makes sense.
So that's my solution to this: is go out and buy the DVD, go out and buy the Blu-ray, rip a copy
Yeah.
of that movie
And-
for your own personal.
And if you can wait,
catalog.
I mean, it's oftentimes more affordable. You look for like a used Blu-ray at like the Exchange
Yeah.
or like on Amazon, like a used copy of a Blu-ray, like it's like $6. Like, and you're not putting more waste into the earth by buying a new one. So
Well, guys,
always buy used.
After I got done giggling, like I saw an ad for Solo,
Oh yeah,
and
He
yeah,
had
like
a
I
hard
said, after I
time.
got done snickering to myself, they only said get it digitally.
really.
They didn't say coming soon for digital download and Blu-ray.
I'm
It
not
was
gonna
just
lie. You had a
get it
mini,
digitally.
you
Well,
had a mini existential crisis that
Here's
they didn't
my thing
even
about
say
that. Here's my thing
anything
about
but
that.
digital.
Is it already the time for digital release, or is Blu-ray coming down the pipe?
That's
could
what I
be.
said.
It could be.
That's
yeah,
what I
'cause
said.
Usually the digital release does come first,
Yes.
so that might be why.
So that might
Right.
be why you're only seeing digital. So I mean, obviously, this doesn't affect really the idea of streaming. That's an entirely different thing than what we're talking about. We're talking about you bought the movie, which I'm still a fan of buying the movie. I'll be honest with you, because of the atmosphere that we're in now, where we are streaming everything, I am more apt to buy things that I know for a fact is going to be one that I'm going to want to include. You know what I mean? In my
Sure.
collection. I'm not just going to go out and purchase any old DVD or any old Blu-ray. If I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy it for a reason. Like I bought, when it came out, the director's cut. No, what?
I was gonna say Debbie does Dallas 4K.
No.
Okay.
I bought the Blu-ray edition, the special director's edition, and I spent $70 on it for the director's edition of Nightbreed, which previously had not been released. Yep, that's I got the poster there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
And
Nightbreed
I
right
made
over his
sure
shoulder
to-
right
and
now.
here's the thing. The reason I bought it was because of two things. One, it was limited edition, so that means I knew there weren't going to be a whole lot of these suckers around. Two, it's of a movie that I'm a fan of. So for people who are saying, well, physical media isn't the thing anymore, blah, blah, blah. No, the idea that you can just burn your film on a DVD and call it a day, that's the done. But you have to do other things with it. You have to include other things. What additional content is on there that's not going to be online, that's not going to be anywhere else? Are you including physical things? Like for me, I have a poster that is a limited edition poster.
That's pretty cool.
That came with it. So, I mean, physical media isn't dead. It's just more has to be done to it to make people want to buy it. I had no problem dropping $70 on the Blu-ray when I could have obviously just watched it on Netflix, because that movie eventually did make it over to Netflix.
But for how long?
And that's a
For
new
how
thing
long?
too. Like things are going to be taken away constantly. You know?
Exactly. So, interesting news stories, guys.
Yeah, man. Some sad, some like
Hey.
annoying.
The way I look at it, one time I got hammered, by the way, and I was like, Batman v Superman. I'm like, can't be that as bad as I remember. And I accidentally hit purchase on there instead of rent. So every time I go into my purchases on Amazon, that little fucking eyesore is right there. But,
couldn't
why can't
return
they
it?
delete that
You
instead?
can. I don't know why you didn't just reach right back out, because like sometimes
I
you
didn't.
just
They were like, no. You
well,
bought it, idiot.
You must do it wrong, because like if you don't watch it, like and even with other digital content, I've gone right to them and been like, "Hi, I clicked the wrong button. I don't fucking want this. Please let me return it." And they've been nice about it.
Well, hopefully they'll delete that and not say 10 of my favorite films.
Oh, that's a transition right there. That's a transition right there. Okay, so how do we want to do this?
Okay, well, I think we need to lay some groundwork.
Okay, some groundwork.
Yeah, so as Brian mentioned at the top of the show, but it bears repeating, we're not saying that these are the greatest movies of all time.
No,
We are saying that these are our favorites. Like for whatever the reason. You know, you saw it as a kid. It inspired you to be a filmmaker. You just enjoy the story. Something about it, it's just absolutely sits there as one of your all-time favorites.
Okay.
Right.
So we're not saying these are the best movies.
We are not.
You're not, and if you don't hear Citizen Kane, don't worry. We're not saying this is the greatest movies of all time. These are just our personal favorites. And this is we're exposing ourselves. We're whipping our dicks out here. We're showing
even Laine's proverbial dick.
I'm not whipping any dick of any kind.
Your proverbial dick's being whipped out.
No dick for me, guys. I'm going to pass this time.
And this is
Phantom dick.
The Phantom dick. You guys are such weirdos.
George Lucas, get on it.
Phantom dick with some phantom
Such
balls.
Weirdos, my lord.
But it's difficult because we're looking at this as film fans. We're also film
makers,
critiques. Yeah, we're film critics as well. So it's strange to order something.
Yeah.
Mine are not. I don't think in order in which I love them.
Well, and it's just odd because for the love of God, because I had them in reserve here, but I have 9 honorable mentions. I won't really mention them on the show, but
I think we forced you to cut them down to 3.
But the point is, when I look at them, I'm like, how did that not make it into the top 10?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So, it's just a little share moment where we're gonna just
Who wants to
put it
go
all
first?
out
Do you
there.
want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay,
Since
so
you
I'm
offered.
gonna go first.
Cool.
I never go first. I always go last. I'm always batting cleanup.
good,
Always
sounds
batting
good.
cleanup. So okay, I'll go first. So I'll start with my my bottom. Okay, the bottom, the number 10.
Bottom bitch.
And I have Casino.
Really? Casino?
Really?
I didn't know you loved that
Yes.
movie so much.
I love that fucking movie so much. The first time, and I saw it originally on TBS because they always play that movie.
But commercial breaks, so you clear 7 hours out of your schedule.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love Casino because it's basically it's like getting a sequel to Goodfellas without getting a sequel to Goodfellas.
In a way, yeah. Similar style.
Similar style. I mean, and the cinematography is great in it too. Scorsese does all those I love the scene when they're in the desert and you've got not Al Pacino but
De Niro.
De Niro. Get those two mixed up. So you got De Niro. He's got the big sunglasses on, and you see the Joe Pesci's car driving, and it's that mirror lens.
Yeah.
So you're getting. I love that shot in there. So there's a lot of great cinematography in Casino. The storytelling's great too. And you get fantastic performances. Sharon Stone especially is fucking batshit nuts in that film.
Oh yeah.
Literally, she went from sex symbol to really amazing fucking actor in that movie. That movie alone for me is that was where she became.
You want to kill her in that movie.
Well, she's horrible.
Yeah.
She's a horrible human being in that movie. But great performances from her, De Niro, Joe Pesci is great in it. Also, what's his face? He's Mr. Conservative now. He plays Lester in that movie. It's from Vampires.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is lovely dead air. All right, Brian, you look it up. I'm gonna sing.
Okay, you sing a little bit. I should probably have IMDb up while doing this.
Make it right. Make it so.
Oh my God, Brian, search faster.
I'm searching fast.
He's touching me.
Searching fast.
Ow! Oh my God! Literally finger.
James Woods.
Jimmy Woods is in there.
Jimmy Woods is in it.
Finger
That's what I
in
said.
my eye.
He's a dick now,
Lord.
but I mean, he
Mr.
plays.
I want to have sex with 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Ew! Oh God, him too.
He's terrible. Yeah, he's a dick now, and he plays a dick in this movie too. I think every movie he's in, he plays a dick.
Yeah.
So, Casino. Oh man, such a good movie.
I used to like James Woods.
Me too.
That was your first mistake.
Me too. I liked him in Vampires. John Carpenter's
gotcha.
Vampires. Oh, he was really good in that. So, then number 9 for me is a movie that scared the shit out of me and still does. Edward Scissorhands. And I don't think I've ever said the story of why that movie scared the shit out of me. So
Tell me everything.
When that movie came out in 91.
Show me where Edward touched you.
That movie came out in 91, and I was probably around 6 years old at the time that movie came out, and I saw it in the video store. They had a cardboard standee with Edward. He had the paper puppet thing going out. And I'm like, that's
Now available. Yeah.
It's like, that's a pretty good movie. I like horror movies. Let's go get that. And I watched it, and that was the first time that a horror film actually, like a scene from a horror movie, actually scared me. And Edward is not a horror movie by any stretch of the imagination, but does have terrifying imagery in it.
Gothic fairy tale. Is that what we would say?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, the scene where you first see Johnny Depp come out of the shadows, and you just see this pale white face and these dull black eyes, and it's fucking terrifying to 6-year-old Brian, and it still is fucking terrifying. For the longest time, I would have to, like when it was be on TV, again, TBS, I would always have to flip the channel as soon as I knew that we were getting to that part. Now, after that part, I'd watch the whole movie and I love it. And I still do. But like that for me, showed me what I had to do to make fear in movies. Okay. It's atmosphere. There's no severed heads. There's no nothing. All it is shadow and light and, music
The
was
build-up.
the build-up, everything.
Oh, it's
What a
beautiful.
nosy Avon lady, by the way.
Yeah,
I was
seriously.
expecting Edward to come out of the shadows and just grab the phone. Hello? Some makeup lady broke into my house.
Yeah, but I mean that movie, and then the scene where he's smiling to Vincent Price.
Oh,
that
yeah.
creepy fucking smile.
It's
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah. That still, for me, sits as examples in creating fear. And actually, in grad school, the one movie I did with our friend Grant, I recreated
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff from Edward Scissorhands. So yeah, that movie's definitely one of my favorites. Even though it can be scary. Next up, I have again a classic we've talked about to ad nauseum, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Classic.
Goes without saying.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, one of my favorite horror icons. I mean, what else can you say? We did a whole 2 episodes on
We
the
did?
Nightmare on Elm Street series, so nothing there.
Yeah.
Next up, I have Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Good choice.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. For
I
me,
have my faults with that, but I,
know
mean, it's beautiful.
and a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of people bring
Mostly
up
Keanu.
Yes, and he is terrible. I admit that he is a terrible Jonathan Harker, especially when you look at other ones on my list, because we'll get to those. But Bram Stoker's Dracula for me, it was a turning point in horror, because prior to Bram Stoker's Dracula, horror really was just slasher movies. Up until 1992, that's pretty much all you had. And then Bram Stoker's Dracula comes around and shows, hey, you can make a really great horror movie, but you can pull from the monsters of the past, and you can update it to a point where it's something you've never seen before. No one ever seen the level of makeup, the level of costume design, the level of artistry that went into making Bram Stoker's Dracula before. And what's interesting is when you realize that all that stuff was done in fucking camera. Everything was done in camera. And it's one of the last movies that actually did everything in camera. And ultimately kicked off a style of filmmaking that lasted up until, I would say fucking Mary Riley was the last one of that era where they started redoing old monster movies. Yeah. So like you had then Mary Shelley's Frankenstein,
De Niro and that
with
one,
De Niro, which is it's good, but it's not as good as Dracula. And then Mary Riley's Jekyll and Hyde. So yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula, fantastic film. Okay. Next up, I have of course The Dark Knight. Fucking Batman, come on. And also just a great all around movie. It's a great detective story.
It doesn't even need Batman to be perfectly
Not really.
honest.
Which
It
is
would
weird
have
to
worked
say,
without
but
him.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the scenes where you've got like the commissioner who gets poisoned and the judge who blows up and they have the cards all over the place. That doesn't even require Batman, but those are iconic scenes. You know what I mean?
And the whole opening sequence is one of the most engrossing.
It's basically Heat.
Yeah.
It's the movie Heat.
Although if you
know.
really think about it, the fact that Joker's holding his mask when he's picked up, that means he has the Joker makeup on and no one notices. And then
That's just commitment to your brand, John.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But no, the movie is like 3.5 hours long, but it doesn't feel it for a second.
No.
You know, the fact that you're like, wow, that movie was that long, like, that's a sign of something good when it can be that long and you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Because how many times do we say on the show, they could have cut off 15 minutes? You know, we say that just about everything we see. Yeah.
Okay. My next two are they're the same movie, but they're different time periods. So one's a remake and one is the original. I have Nosferatu Phantom der Nacht, which is the Werner Herzog.
Deep cut,
yeah.
and also a great poster.
Yes. The Werner Herzog remake of the original 1922 Nosferatu Symphony of Horror. I love that movie so much. Seriously, like it was one of the movies that I was just like, oh, this is where all the vampire lore came from. And you realize that, at least in 1922, that movie was so fucking terrifying it was giving people nightmares. Like people were fainting watching that movie. Now, the 1979 Phantom der Nacht is not nearly as good as the original, which, I mean, it's a remake. It's going to happen. But what's nice about that the remake is just the level of attention to detail that Herzog did for crafting, you know, a monster in his image. You know, he used Klaus Kinski, he's a crazy man, or was a crazy man, as the vampire, and ultimately made it more about plague than vampirism. You know, and you have great performances from, I believe her name is Isabella Rossellini.
Yes. Oh, I love Isabella Rossellini.
She's a crazy lady, but very good actress.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic film. Great score, and even, like the opening scene of Phantom der Nacht is, you know, real mummies. Like that's shit real. Those are real dead bodies that they're filming. If you've ever seen it, it's creepy, but you know, it's just a great all around film. A great example of German expressionism because you see how they're trying to, you know, play to that. You know, the original 1922 goes without saying. So, I was wrong. It's Isabella Adjani.
Oh, so it's not Rossellini then.
Yeah.
No, not Rossellini.
I just agreed that I loved her. I didn't know if she was in it or not.
No, I mean, she is a crazy lady.
Yeah.
But Isabella Adjani. That's where I add down. So, next up, I have a movie I've mentioned a couple times. The 2002 movie May by Lucky McKee.
You love that movie.
I love that fucking movie so much. I found that movie in Hollywood Video, and I saw the cover, and I'm just like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And I watched it, and I was just like, this is fucking crazy. For those of you who've never seen May, I definitely suggest you check it out. It's a very interesting take on Frankenstein, where Frankenstein in this is the character May, and you realize kind of her psyche regarding really just wanting a friend. And her creating this kind of Frankenstein creature is really just a result of being ill-prepared for social interaction with people, to the point where her personality breaks and she dives into madness. It's a fantastic film. It's got great performances. Anna Faris is in it in one of her first roles.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's again directed by Lucky McKee. You also get Jeremy Sisto playing.
Oh, I like Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah, he's good in this. But it's a lot of gore, a lot of fucking gore in this. Like, there's the best scene in it, and I'll give it away, no problem.
Give it away now.
I'll give it away. Is when May has already had the first parts of her psychological break, and she decides that she's going to volunteer at a school for blind kids.
Oh my!
So she decides to go to show and tell with a doll that she has, because the whole thing is she talks to a doll that's in a glass case, that she just is obsessed with. So she brings the doll in the glass case to show and tell, and the blind kids are like, "Why don't you let the doll out? We want to see her." And she's like, "Oh no, I never let the doll out." And they start all like mobbing her, grabbing the doll, and the doll in the glass case breaks
What?
with a bunch of blind kids. So you see where I'm going here. All the blind kids are all grabbing the glass, and you hear the crunching, and everyone's screaming.
So bad.
And May is grabbing the doll, trying to protect the doll from the blind kids.
Right.
And she's getting glass in her eye. Like, she actually gets glass in her eye and cuts her eye. It's horrifying. But it's such a good movie. Such a great movie. Okay. And then coming up to
your top 3 now?
Oh, yeah, we're in my top 3. That was number 3.
That was number 3.
Nice.
Okay.
Number 2 is Hellraiser.
Not surprised.
Not
I
surprising.
wondered when we were going to hit Hellraiser.
Hellraiser for me is very, and this one, and I would say my top 3 basically kind of were combined to make me want to go into filmmaking.
Okay, cool.
You know, May I discovered kind of after I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. Like, I'm like, this is what what you know, art in any other shape and form is not going to cut it. It has to be filmmaking. So May was kind of like, yeah, this is what you should do. And this is what someone else did. Hellraiser and the number 1 pick basically put the idea in my head that, hey, you should make movies. Especially when I realized that Clive Barker, the director of Hellraiser, is not a filmmaker. And this movie was his way of taking back creative control from other people who had made movies on his work. So Clive Barker, everybody knows, is a fantastic novelist. I mean, he basically, Stephen King said himself, I've seen the future of horror, and his name is Clive Barker. That's a hell of endorsement.
Damn right.
No.
But the problem is that, you know, back in the early 80s, some of his works were, especially one called Rawhead Rex, were produced really improperly. And really just kind of bastardized his creative work. So when it came time to make Hellraiser, he decided that he was going to be the one to direct it. He had never directed a film in his life. Aside from just student films, he had done a couple things in college, and he even says, like, don't watch those movies I made in college; they're terrible, and they are. But the thing is interesting is like Doug Bradley was in those productions as well.
All the way back then. Okay.
Yep, all the way back then. So when it came time to make Hellraiser, he literally went to the library and got a directing book, and that's what he used.
That's crazy.
And
Why do we have all these degrees?
But what's interesting is just with that, he was able to craft, in my opinion, a horror movie that really changed the game in the mid 80s. No one really before Hellraiser. You had Nightmare on Elm Street, which had a character that had some sort of personality. But Hellraiser really opened the door and said, yeah, we're going to have monsters that not only have personality, but they have, I guess you could say, a sort of dark sense of style. People look at Hellraiser and they go, oh yeah, this is basically bondage. And they're absolutely right. It is. It's combining that bondage and combining that idea of pain and pleasure being indivisible, as some people view pain as a pleasurable thing, and reaching the limits of experience. So for me, Hellraiser was that film that said, yeah, this is what you should do. This is where your career path is going to be. This is your art now. Especially hearing Clive Barker's story of how he got into filmmaking.
Right. It's very interesting.
Very interesting. And then, of course, my number 1, it goes without saying, and John, I'm pretty sure this one's probably on your list too, is, of course, the 1989 Batman.
Oh, I thought you were going to say The Room.
No. Yeah.
There it is.
1989, Tim Burton, Batman.
It's a double dose on the Dark Knight.
I remember watching that movie when I was 5 years old on VHS, and I ran the tape ragged to the point where it broke.
Yeah.
Okay, that movie I would watch over and over and over and over again. I memorized the entire movie. Honestly, if we're watching it today, I could go and give the whole dialogue as we're watching it.
I can hear the sound effects and the music hits in my head, like beat for beat.
Yeah.
You guys having a nerd off?
We are.
No.
No, I don't have my hand
It's
at the
not an
table
off.
at all.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm not cupping
Cool.
John's balls as
If
I'm
anything,
saying this right
maybe
now.
we're jerking each other off.
We're circling.
Yeah.
That's a good friend.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's
friends.
good friends. Good friends.
Okay.
So yeah. I grew up. I love Batman. I still do. I wanted to be Batman. I turned when I was when Batman Returns came out. I turned my Jack and Jill bathroom into the Batcave. So Batman for me has always been like part of my DNA ever since the '89 Batman came out. And I always was like, wow, how do they make that movie? And then you realize all that went into making that movie and how long it took to make that movie. It took over a decade to make Batman. And then the level of artistry that at the time, brilliant Tim Burton, not now, created is amazing. So, yeah, that's my top 10. Batman number 1 and Hellraiser number 2 and May number 3. Those movies for me shaped who I am as a filmmaker.
Well, and people forget that
Cool, man.
too. They gave this wild-haired weirdo kid who had made two
Who
movies.
got fired by Disney?
Yeah,
It's talking
this
about
opportunity,
Tim Burton kids.
You know, and you don't see that enough anymore. You know,
No, you don't.
But no, yeah, great list. I liked it. There were a few surprises in there for me, but a lot of things like I did expect coming.
You didn't see Casino coming in there, did
No,
you?
no,
Right,
that was
That was the wild card, wasn't it? A lot of
you
people
threw a
don't know that.
spitball. Actually,
Yeah, see, I love horror movies as much as the next person, but I mean, there's something for gangster movies in there.
Very cool. All right. Who we going to next? Is it my turn, John?
I
or
think
you
it's your
going?
turn, Lane.
All right.
I think John's going to round us out.
we'll go clockwise.
All right. So I'm curious to see if I surprise John with any of these because
Okay.
he knows me pretty well, and you said the other day that you wouldn't really necessarily guess.
All right, surprise me, Janice. Wait, what's your name again?
All right. Well,
I know you?
The first one is no surprise. My first pick is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, kind of figured.
Now, just to be clear, you didn't go in any particular order, right?
I did not.
No. Okay.
Now, did you rated yours in order of love?
I did. I did rate mine
I
in
did as
order
well.
of love.
So, but yeah, Laine, you're a rogue here.
And I'll try to kind of like, I'm not going to do like the one I like the least first or anything. You know what I mean? Obviously, like I love Empire Strikes Back. It's probably in my top. So I'll probably go like most love to like, you know, as I go down. But yeah, you know, the Star Wars franchise was my Batman moment. Like that was what made me want to be a filmmaker and want to tell stories. And, you know, when I saw the movies at like 10, 11, like, I mean, I don't know, it's like dramatic to say, but I felt like they changed me, you know? And Empire Strikes Back is my favorite of the three.
Well,
So,
around that age, you were going through changes anyways.
I was not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, you know, I almost kind of use Empire Strikes Back as kind of like a placeholder for the Star Wars movies in general. But, you know, if I had to pick one, that's my pick.
It's
If you had a Sophie's choice of Star Wars movies, Empire would be the one you say.
Yeah, and
with the exception of the ending, it's nearly a perfect movie.
it is.
It is.
And I'd like to say, too, my benchmarks for this list, they all had to be things that I was emotionally connected to, you know, that maybe tied in a little bit to my love of film and wanting to be a filmmaker. But they also had to be movies where if they just were on cable and I was just like laying on the couch, I'd be like, yes, and I wouldn't move.
They were
you
your
know?
Sunday movies. Sunday movies.
Exactly.
Although when War Games is on TV, I usually don't miss it, but that's not on my list.
There's a lot that you'll watch, my friend. A lot. All right, so so Empire Strikes Back is my first that I'm throwing at you guys. I'm gonna go on these are all over the place, like all different genres. My second that I'd like to talk about is the movie Ever After.
I've never seen that.
It is the Cinderella retelling. It's with Drew Barrymore. I think it is Drew Barrymore at her absolute best. I don't think she's a very good actress, but she's fantastic in this.
Okay.
And is it British? Is it French? I don't know. Her accent's both.
Wasn't that on like Disney?
It's not Disney. I don't remember who distributed it, but there are just so many great things about this movie. I would just like to
it was
briefly
like mid 90s,
educate
right?
you. It's 20 years old.
Yeah, I was going to
It
say
came
mid
out in
90s,
98.
right?
It came
That's
out in
what I
98.
thought.
So
Yeah.
it actually just had its 20th anniversary this July. That's when it came out. And I remember when I was undisclosed age. No, just kidding. But I was like reading Teen People and those kind of magazines back in the day. And I remember the previews, like they were like teasing this movie before it came out. You know, they would always have like the preview of movies that are coming out and stuff. And I remember two very clear things that they spoiled about the movie ahead of time. Number one, that she was going to have one nice stepsister, and number two, that Leonardo da Vinci was going to be in it. And that's something that's kind of important about I think the form that this takes is that it's a retelling of Cinderella, but there's no magic.
Wait, Leonardo da Vinci?
Yeah, da Vinci.
That actual Da Vinci's in it.
Yeah,
okay.
I you know what? Now that I remember, I think I might have seen bits and pieces. And yeah, she's like a smart lady in medieval times.
You were
isn't
like
it?
giving that like the most shade of all time. You like did air quotes.
Okay,
like, all
okay.
right,
Here's-
I think we're gonna have to fight. I don't want to. We're gonna have to fight.
No, here's what I mean by that.
Toots,
Like,
maybe you shouldn't just have crap on your list.
that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is like they did the writing is not that great.
The writing of the film?
Because of the fact, yeah,
it's good.
No.
Well, Brian,
What I
it's on
mean
her top
is-
10 list. She's not going to agree with you.
I know that. What I mean is like the whole thing was that she's a smart and pretty and that sort of thing in a environment that doesn't really appreciate that. That's what all I mean about that.
I feel like this is the definition of mansplaining because
I'm
you're
not
telling
trying to
me
mansplain
about
it.
my favorite movie that you've never seen.
Oh God,
Hey, would you two take it easy?
I didn't mean to fight here.
Let me get the rest of this out. Like, she is a very smart person, and that's one of the things that I really love about this movie is because this is one of the few fairy tales that offer the high fantasy that is so appealing about a fairy tale with also the grounded reality of an actually strong female character who didn't give a damn about the prince until it was like at a point where she was like, oh fuck, I love you though. So, and I relate to that because I think I'm a very strong personality. Didn't see this guy coming, and like that's pretty much how it was like I'm an independent person. Like, oh fuck, I love you though. So
Johnny,
I relate to
Prince?
that very strongly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so one of the things that I think is
Latrine.
really interesting about this is that magic is taken out.
Okay.
Leonardo fucking Vinci is taken in, and honestly, like. Patrick Godfrey as Leonardo da Vinci is one of my favorite characters of all time. He's amazing. Like I said, I think Drew Barrymore is amazing in it, and it portrays women as being, some and in some aspects bad. Though, dear God, Angelica Houston in this movie, I could watch her all day long.
Oh, is she in it?
Yeah, she's great in it. And then Dougray Scott plays the prince, and he's like kind of a whiny little bitch, and it's kind of great because like he becomes a better person after meeting Danielle. That's the name of Cinderella in this one, but I'll never forget that summer where I was like being teased and like seeing, I saw this shit in the theater, and like my friend Alex and I were obsessed with it. When it came out on VHS, I've had it on VHS, I've had it on DVD, and I now have it on Blu-ray. Like, I love this movie, and it makes me so happy because I think it was really well done.
Wasn't trying to shit on your movie, friend.
I know, I'm just kidding. I just thought it was funny.
You didn't get it on Betamax or Laserdisc.
But one of the things I do like about it is that I always look again and again, how is the writing, how is the script, what's the story, and it's really good, and I can see it, so many times and like never ever get sick of it. So that's definitely high on my list. I'll go really far in a different direction here, and I'll say that number 3 for me is Christmas Vacation.
No shit.
I knew you guys were gonna poop.
That's
I knew
a
you were gonna
good
poop.
movie.
There were so many movies I watched at the holidays, but I was so afraid to put them on my list because I don't know if it's because it's the holidays, and like,
Right.
and that's really what's driving my emotional.
Some movies are like horrible. Like Home Alone is terrible.
Oh yeah, Home
but
Alone sucks.
I mean,
but
it's a holiday.
It's
movie.
Christmas. You're gonna watch it,
Right.
Christmas, you're
So,
gonna watch
well,
it.
no, but again, my benchmarks were if this was on cable. Now, John and I watch it at a very specific time in a very specific ritual. But if it was on cable at Christmas time, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. you gotta
So
watch
it
Christmas.
passes that test
Christmas
handily. But one of the things is, so John and I do watch it every year without fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I see something new in it every single time. Like, I appreciate something new. I know that it was a little in part like improvised, a little bit of script. It's the only John Hughes movie that I really like. And I think it's just more than a Christmas staple. I think it's kind of a fun commentary on like how family can make you crazy, but like you still want to be around them and you still want to like have the like what's best for them too. With Clark's like mission to make like the perfect family Christmas. Like, he wants to kill everybody, but he's still trying to hold it together so hard for his family.
I love the scene when he loses his shit, and he says, "We're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye."
Yeah.
It's a great line.
Look, we needed another coffin. I mean, tree.
There's a lot of great lines,
Fix the list post.
and I think that you just get a little something new every single time.
Oh, God.
And I've talked to John about this at length before, but the thing I like about this is that Clark Griswold, like he's the buffoon, but he's nobody's fool.
No,
he's not
he
just
isn't.
a blithe idiot. You see that in the one scene with is he has a Taz mug? Is that what he has?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kiss my ass, kiss his ass.
Yeah.
Kiss your
Happy
ass. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
He's not just like some idiot that he doesn't have any measure of himself or other people. Like I think that's really
that's
important.
the difference between like current comics. Like he's not what's the fat guy fall down.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Oh, Kevin James.
Yeah, he's not like Kevin. That's the difference between him and Kevin
exactly.
James.
Although somehow that guy, he has a TV show with the actress that played his wife on the other TV show, but it's not the same TV show. The fuck? This guy just keeps getting work. God damn it, Laine, you were saying.
I was saying, and just as a final note on Christmas Vacation, the girl who plays Ruby Sue, right? Ruby Sue?
Yeah.
Or it's Ruby Sue, right?
Ruby Sue, yeah.
Yeah, I follow the actress on Instagram, and she's amazing. I love her dog. Like, she's so cool. She's a really cool lady. So it's like a little bonus.
We still got the shaft.
It's a little bonus. So I follow her on Instagram. So my next movie, I'm going to say... So I have this theory that every woman in the world has a chip in her brain that makes her love Dirty Dancing, and I'm one of them. I'm sorry, I know it's a very indulgent movie, but if you really look past a lot of its surface things, number one, I will sit and I will watch any dancing movie. I love watching that sort of I don't know. I mean, I took dance for like 10 years, but like I was a kid. So but like Center Stage, oh my God, anytime anyone wants to watch that, hit me up. Save the Last Dance with Julia Stiles. Oh, I love dancing movies. But
yeah, my face right now is telling
your face is very constipated.
Well, I didn't mind that movie too much until I got together with you and had to see it 700 times.
What's Dirty Dancing?
Yeah, it's probably you a Predator.
It's always on cable though.
It is. It's always on cable.
So yeah, so I mean, it reminds me of two of my really close friends growing up. It was a sleepover staple for us, and so I have a lot of nostalgia for it. But if you look at the story itself, the story of Baby being this idealistic, wanting to do good in the world but not understanding her own privilege and slowly learning her own privilege. The movie's about class. The movie is about resources and how the haves treat the have-nots, and
nobody puts Baby in the corner,
right? And I mean, like Penny's story, I mean, we're grappling with issues like abortion in this movie, and of course Jerry Orbach is absolutely phenomenal as Baby's dad, but we see this path of like this girl who had the nickname of Baby. She goes from being Baby to kind of taking her own personality and persona and becoming Frances. Like that's her real name in the movie. And like, during a time when these things weren't discussed and, in a very like
the 50s.
It is. Yeah. It was made in the 80s,
50s.
but it takes place in the 50s, and just like, and I think her sister's a really good symbol of like the blithe, like devil may care kind of thing. But, then even she kind of gets an awakening of what a douchebag Robbie is. Like I think there's a lot of layers to the movie. Again, you see a strong female character, but she's also flawed and she also has room to grow, so it doesn't get boring, Okay. And also She's Like the Wind by Patrick Swayze is the greatest song of all time.
God.
And when you watch the movie alone, you may be tickled that little pickle.
Listen, what I do on my own time is none of your damn business.
He was shirtless and sweaty a lot in that movie.
He is very shirtless in that movie. What? So no. All right. So this is the last of like the more female driven films that I enjoy, but I have to include Clueless on my list. That is my Batman. I can literally quote that movie. If you put like the soundtrack on and had it on mute, I could do the whole damn thing myself. No problem. Not even trying hard. Like I could be reading a book and I would still nail it. You know what I mean?
Apparently Cher Horowitz dressed up as Batman. So could Brian and I.
Oh my gosh, you made an Alicia Silverstone joke. My brain like took a second. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Actually, I wasn't making Batman Robin. I just meant because we just said that we can quote Batman 89.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that's my Batman. Like, but Alicia Silverstone was Batgirl.
Yes.
Remember?
No, she wasn't. I didn't see that. Yeah. I didn't see that one.
But yeah, I mean, it's it's a very loose retelling of Emma, which I think is kind of amusing, but I am a big Amy Heckerling fan. I think that she took a subset of culture that was modern at the time, and I mean, she just made this gorgeous little time capsule of it. I mean, it's still relevant. The fashion is definitely relevant again, which is so exciting because I love me a good plaid. But I do really love this. It's an amazing comedy. And as long as you look at it as a comedy, I think that you'll be okay. But again, a good coming of age story where you find strength in like an unlikely place, because I know Cher Horowitz's character, she's a valley girl, she's an airhead, but she does have a heart of gold, and she's trying her best. She's not trying to do things for herself. She's trying to do her best. So I think that that's really important too.
I think my favorite Alicia Silverstone movie has to be The Crush.
Oh man, that movie is.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Excess Baggage.
Dude,
No.
I thought he was too, and I was going to shit. That movie's terrible.
No, The Crush.
That's a good
movie
one.
right there.
That is a good one. Nicely done. So yeah, so that's like the last of my girly movies.
Okay.
I would put next on the list, I would put Psycho.
Okay.
It's my
Goes
favorite horror
without saying.
film. And, I mean, just like Janet Leigh at her most like decadent. Scrumptious is a good word.
And dead.
And
And very dead.
I mean, okay, like Killjoy.
No, but she like dies in the first 5 minutes.
I know, but like but again, like I can't walk towards this movie as like it being on my list without saying that there were some things about this movie that changed film, like to kill off like a really major actress that early on. I mean, that was crazy.
Also independently produced.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
I'm not,
no studio wanted to touch this pornography.
and I'm not a huge like mindless Hitchcock fan necessarily. Like
He's still an asshole.
I do like a lot of his films, but he's an asshole. So, we talk about that all the time. Like, that's hard for me. But I do think that this is him at his best. I think this is a master work. And
It's also his wife at her best editing.
yeah, and that's like, and that's significant too, because that this movie is made in the edit because, if you don't know the twist, like it knocks you off your ass. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I had to include it just because, of the era. And I think that it's just such a successful horror movie.
The only shame is at the end when it's like, say, Doc, what's going on? Why was Norman Bates in a dress? Well, there are some men who like to dress up like ladies. What are you talking about, Doc? No, follow me here. And when Norman's mother died, he took on a personality, which is something crazy people. They spend that like last 20 minutes because like I understood it's 1960. Nobody fucking understands what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and I feel like there's a lot
Yep.
of that like does like demonize that aspect of things, and that's
I don't know if it
not
demonizes
quite good.
it. I
Well,
think they
there's always
explain
that.
it.
Well, I feel like the trope in Hollywood is that trans people or even someone who likes to dress differently, and I apologize, I don't know the proper term for that, but that they're either
I don't mean to be rude. Is it just cross-dresser?
I don't know if we can still use that word anymore,
Okay.
and I don't want to assume.
Right.
But but those people, quote unquote, are either completely untrustworthy or psychotic, and that's not fair. That's the only thing I don't like about the film. But
Or victims,
I do think it's an awesome. I do think it's overall an awesome film.
Okay.
So let's see what else.
What are you up to now? Here?
I don't know. I went all out of order, so like I don't have like a clean line. I didn't number them either.
Yeah.
I think I have 3 left.
Okay.
I think
Your top 3.
Oh, middle, and these are my top 3. I'm going in reverse order, so
Okay.
I like them less as I go, I guess. Speaking of horror movies, Jaws is on my list.
Jaws.
Spielberg at his best, in my opinion. Some of the things that he did with the the puppetry and the robotics and stuff. I mean, that was groundbreaking for the time. Again, John and I watch it every year without fail.
Well, the fucking shark didn't work half the time.
But they still
Saved the movie.
They still made it work. They still saved the movie, and because
By
it
not
didn't
showing
work,
them,
they didn't show him that much, and that turned out to be a good thing. So, we watch it every year. I enjoy it immensely each time. It holds up.
Is that your 4th of July movie?
It is.
Oh,
We
yeah.
watch it on the 4th of July. We hide in the woods and we watch a few movies on the 4th
Team
of July.
America, Uncle Sam, which we've talked about on this show.
That I don't enjoy watching every year.
Independence Day.
Into fucking Pendants Day. But Jaws, I look forward to every year. Dark Knight's also on my list, Brian.
Yep.
I think that it's an absolutely awesome showcase of Heath Ledger, R.I.P. And, I did not expect to like that movie so much or respond to it so much. But, like we were saying, the opening sequence of that movie, I could watch.
Just blows you off your
anytime.
ass
I mean,
right
like, what a
there.
way to start a movie. Like, you're just immediately engrossed anytime that movie's on cable. I mean, to the point where John had to tell me to stop. Like, anytime it was on cable, I always would put it on.
Well, it was like TNT or TBS, one of those two. They got the rights to it and they ran it 37 times a day.
Yeah.
So it was just, oh Jesus, even if you love the movie, it's like I
I
can't.
think
see
it was FX that had it.
maybe, yeah, one of the
Because
one of them.
FX has the movies.
Yeah.
I forgot that was their thing.
That's their thing.
So yeah, there's not too much to say about The Dark Knight that you haven't already said, Brian. But I totally agree with it being on your list. You're not going to like this next one.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
It's
boy.
Scream.
I'm not surprised.
It's a 90s snapshot. It's a meta before meta was a thing, kind of, self-ironic. I mean, this really reminds
It
me
destroyed horror movies.
Oh, okay, cool. It really reminded me, it reminds me of that era when, like, comedy was more about being ironic and kind of poking fun at yourself while also being very blasé. Like, that was a very 90s convention. I think a lot of the humor in Daria is very similar, and a lot of Kevin Williamson's work is very similar to Scream, with the hyper intelligent, very articulate, very verbose kinds of characters. This place on my list is also as much of a nod to Kevin Williamson as it is to anything else because of his contributions to media in the 90s. Dawson's Creek was a huge deal when that came out, and I see a lot of similarities sometimes. And then I have one more. Sorry, I said I had 3 and it was 4, but the list is right, so don't worry.
I thought so. There's 2 more.
No, just one.
Just one more.
Just one.
Yeah.
So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Okay, yeah.
So the entire franchise, and you pick
That's where, the shit gets real.
It is, and I thought about that, John, because for the longest time, Prisoner of Azkaban was my favorite. Alfonso Cuarón directed that one, and it really changed, I think, from little kiddie movies to being more advanced. But over time, I mean, the movies just kept getting better, the effects kept getting better, and the actors got older and better, and I had to go with Part 2 just because, and I agonized over it when we were doing the research for this episode, but I really think the final one was just the most amazing send off that you could have, to the series. I mean, you see these kids go from being 11 to being adults. It's insane. And Harry Potter means a ton to me as just a consumer of media, as a reader, as a writer. So I had to include it on the list, and I decided to go with the final one just because of the achievements visually I thought were just the most striking. Though I will say, it was definitely close. I almost listed Prisoner of Azkaban just because of how fond I was of it. And I really think Alfonso Cuarón did some really amazing elements to really grow the movies up fast visually without having to say a word. Chris Columbus, they were kids' movies. They were very childlike. And I think that they tried to take adolescence, with the 3 characters in the 3rd movie and really grow them up. So,
So you do like Goblet of Fire quite a bit as well. That you watch that one always.
I will always watch it when it's on. Okay, but I mean, again, like with Star Wars, I had to pick one, but really, it's a nod to the entire franchise.
What really helped with that franchise too is that none of those actors, because they were adults by the time that was over, none of them
21.
really looked like adults. You ever watch one of the Wishbones near the end, and that one kid who plays Joe's antagonist, he looks like he's 38 years old.
He's really old looking.
He's hey, you're never gonna get through 11th grade math if you don't study with me, and it's dude, you are 40. But,
I don't think so.
funny.
Yeah, they always looked young enough. And they got lucky on that, in my opinion. But
all right, John, I'm gonna close us out on this.
Take us home, baby. Take us home.
All right. So interesting note. I think there's gonna only be one thing that's already been mentioned.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, only one repeat. I think I'm the only one that's also going to mention any 60s movies, you guys.
Hey, Psycho's from 1960.
Psycho. Okay, yeah.
Suck it, Williscroft.
All right. Number 10 here. And I did what Brian did, so, I'm going from least to favorite here, which is such an odd... When I was a kid, I categorized everything. Now I feel weird doing it. But
It's all right.
Nevertheless.
You're growing as a human.
Number 10, Die Hard.
Yeah.
Really? Die Hard was so close to being on my list. So close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfectly structured story.
Very well paced.
And what you don't see in movies today, characters that are interesting and that you like following. John McClane isn't perfect. What is so perfect about him is that he is, while skillful with this, he's a cop. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. He makes mistakes. He does dumb things. He almost gets himself killed left and right because he's not, Steven Seagal, who just can kill everybody instantaneously.
Or like the Terminator.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like John McClane, he's kind of almost the everyman. He's not filled with all the Rambo muscles or the Schwarzenegger muscles of the era.
Yeah.
He's very much kind of slimmed down, and he's vulnerable too. The multiple times where he gets injured in that movie and still has to go and get the bad guys.
He's fragile and mortal.
And they picked an actual actor.
Yeah, it's true.
And I don't know if it's Kismet or what, but Bruce Willis, who I don't think is like a great actor or anything, he makes this movie.
Yeah.
Because so much of that stuff is just him improving. I've always preferred Roy Rogers myself, probably the sequin shirts. Why didn't you do something, John? Because then you'd be dead too, asshole. Where he's talking to himself. Come out to the coast, we'll have a few laughs.
Everybody quotes that line.
Yeah, that's him. That's just him riffing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Or when he's jumping out the window, what are you doing, John? That's him just going off, and oddly, even though he's such an ass kicker, we feel like we can relate. We're like John McClane, it's brilliantly paced. That's a big thing with these movies. It's brilliantly paced. There's no downtime. There's no missed point. The story unwraps perfectly, and it's a great movie to watch at Christmas too.
Do you guys think he's sexy in that movie? I think he's sexy in that movie.
Well, we're heterosexual men.
We're not
it's
really
a little hard.
I bet Brian thinks he's sexy.
No, not really.
I mean, we made out a little, Bruce and I, but
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me about that later.
Well, it was that cardboard cutout, and they said, "Look, sir, if you're going to keep it up, we're going to kick you out of Blockbuster."
No, you're not welcome in this Sam Goody again.
Yeah, by the way, guys, my list is very commercial. I feel like, man, I'm a sellout.
Dude, did you hear the movies I listed? Good God.
Number 9, Planet of the Apes, and I'm talking 68 here.
Yeah, you
that's a
are.
good one. That's a good one.
If you had asked me, I would have definitely put that on your list. I know you love that movie.
It's just, I love Rod Serling so very, very much. Twilight Zone fame. Wrote the bulk of that series.
Yeah.
At least 65% of those episodes. And he used science fiction as a way to do huge commentaries on the world around him. So not only is it a good film in and of itself and a great science fiction movie, it has so much to say. Even with Charlton Heston's overacting,
it almost works.
Your dirty paws off me, you damn dirty apes.
Number 8 here, like I said, the only movie that overlaps, Jaws.
Yep.
Yeah.
Laine, on mine as well.
I was hoping at least one of ours would overlap.
I don't mean, I don't want to repeat too many things here, but thank God that the shark didn't work, because what's so scary about the movie is you don't really see the shark.
It's until that very end when the one time that the shark worked.
Yeah.
And that's when they show the shark. And honestly, it's all atmosphere. It's all not knowing. It's all the camera too. The only time you're seeing Jaws is POV, coming up and biting the legs.
Yeah. It's the most expensive Roger Corman movie ever made.
Seriously is.
Laine, you kind of hit on a lot of the points here we already have, so I will jump ahead to number 7, Jurassic Park.
I almost put that on my list too.
Changed cinema right there.
Oh, yeah.
That movie
Still holds up.
That movie alone changed cinema.
I saw this 3 times in the theater. I remember we went on vacation around the time that movie came out when I was 8 years old, and my parents took me to see it 2 more times after the first one.
Aww.
Because it was just, dinosaurs had come to life. Like they say in Superman, you'll believe a man can fly, and you'd never seen those effects before, and you're like, oh my God, Christopher Reeve really can fly. When that T-Rex comes out of the paddock, that's a motherfucking T-Rex.
Yeah, the dinosaurs have returned.
Yeah.
And they're good actors.
And what I constantly say with these Jurassic World movies that don't realize this is it wasn't a movie about dinosaurs. It was a movie about one man's hubris and thinking that he can play God, and comments on genetic modification and what happens when we try to make a flea circus, but you do a flea circus with a maniacal maniac who has unlimited amounts of money and just goes out of control.
Yep.
Because it's from Michael Crichton, the story was, and if you watch Westworld,
oh yeah,
I'm not talking the TV show, like the original story and then the movie, it's the same story. It's just robots instead of dinosaurs.
Yep.
But yeah, number 6. Some people say the greatest movie of all time. I have Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh,
That's a good
one.
movie.
Good
Yeah.
one.
Good movie.
I can't think of a single thing wrong with this movie.
Good choice.
The story,
There's nothing.
the pacing, the acting.
There really
Yeah.
isn't.
Everything is on point. And I remember the first time I saw it, and when he throws that rock through that poster, which if you haven't seen Shawshank, I don't know why you listen to this podcast, but so sorry, but spoilers. Throws the rock through the poster, and then they see the hole. Like, I just remember getting this smile on my face. Like, I actually knew Andy Dufresne. I was like, you son of a bitch, you did it, you know? And that's a movie that, like Laine, like you said, if it's on TV,
You're watching it.
yeah, I'm watching it.
You're not getting the weeding done that week.
Yeah.
Number 5, Back to the Future.
Great film.
Knew it would be on your list.
Great film.
Without fail, I watch the entire trilogy every year. The second and third
Even when
one.
the trilogy is kind of weak.
Yeah.
Even when like in terms of trilogies that kind of like sustain the quality. I mean, Back to the Future is one of those ones where you are getting diminishing return on every one of those. Like 2 is okay, it's good. Like there are things that we pick out of 2 because they go to the future.
Yeah.
But when you get to 3, you're just like, okay. Like I know about you, but like for me, 3 is like,
The first one is my favorite.
to
Old
make
West.
They started to make it more like the cartoon series.
Yes.
And the problem is that Bob Zemeckis him and Bob Gale, they both wrote it.
Yeah.
But it was really Zemeckis leading the train. And the second and third one, it was really Bob Gale leading. And you can tell Bob Gale was more of like, I like the cartoony and goofy humor, you know, and the slapstick kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, you know, Bob Zemeckis clearly is on autopilot.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like for me, my favorite out of the trilogy is 2.
Yeah.
Because it does go to the future, and you are getting kind of like that weird, like because they do go back to the past, and you get like 2 Martys there showing up, and that sort of dynamic. I love that stuff. And you kind of see like alternate angles of events that happened in the first movie. So I mean, that's for me why I love the second one over the other 2. But yeah, I mean the quality in the first one you can't really question.
Yeah. Number 4, I have Saving Private Ryan.
I knew that would be on your list
movie.
too.
It really, I
Solid
think
movie.
the greatest war movie ever made, because it's nice that it's World War II because it can be about the heroicism of war, but also the film does not shy away from the horror of
I was
war
gonna
at the same
say
time,
like
you know?
that movie in particular, it absolutely shows this is what war is. It's not just some glorified, like, because movies up until then, they never showed really the horrors of war.
Yeah.
It was always the glamour side of it. Here's the troops going here. Like, even when you think of, like, John Wayne war movies, it was always, we're going to get there. But no one ever died. If they did die, they died off
John
screen.
Wayne killed all the Nazis himself.
But what I mean is,
Single-handedly.
like everyone either died off screen or was, like, one gunshot. It was never like, some guy just got mowed down by, German machine gun and his guts are hanging out. You never saw that.
Yeah.
And Saving Private Ryan really did. It was the first movie that I can remember where they were like, we're going to show all of it. You're going to see it because this is what war is.
And that's a shame with Dunkirk that came out last year. The studio, I know, pushed for that PG-13 rating because they wanted, to get as much return as they could.
Yeah.
But these guys, like you said, Ryan, they're getting hit by chain guns and things like that, and they're getting thrown in the air. No blood.
Yeah.
No blood. I mean, they're being ripped apart by bullets.
That especially when it is a real event.
Yeah.
Like not just you made it up, but when it's a real event, that I think does a disservice to the real event and the people who survived the real event. War is not a glamorous thing. War is unfortunately, it is hell. It really is. And it's horrifying. What we as human beings do to each other. And you know what? You need to have that scene in our art that emulates that war. Mm-hmm. That's just my point of view.
And you would think a story, okay, 3 of his brothers died, and this is actually, this is historically accurate. They would send you home if you are the sole surviving child. It's not something they made up for the movie. For them to have to search for a needle in a haystack and try to find this random soldier, like, this sounds boring. This is stupid.
It's not boring.
But no, it's amazingly captivating
Yeah,
to watch them
definitely.
on this journey to find this guy. And just one of the things that really struck me in the movie was just the framing and composition of shots. Like when they're going to Private Ryan's mother's house to tell her that all of her sons except James has died, and she's at the sink, and you can see the car pulling up in the reflection of the window as she's doing dishes, and then it just kind of follows her in a dolly shot to the doorway, and as the guys step out of the door, she just collapses in the doorway. It's one of the most beautifully structured shots I've ever seen in my life.
Well, because it's showing us, it's not telling us. We know exactly what's happening, but no one said a word.
Right.
Right.
And obviously the D-Day is just a sign of Spielberg's,
Spielbergness.
yeah, just
Spielberg.
the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to cut together a scene.
He's done it a few times.
Number 3 here, Goodfellas.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good pick.
I almost put Goodfellas
So
down.
you.
I almost did.
So you.
I almost did.
I think, that's the masterclass in filmmaking of just how to tell a story, how to cut scenes together, how to shoot them. And I mean, it's not just a technical marvel. Like the way they adapt in that book from Henry Hill, who essentially was illiterate. The guy was a complete moron, based on the book Wise Guys, which I hope Henry don't come after me because I think you
He's
are
dead.
still alive. Is he dead?
He's dead.
Did Henry Hill die? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
He's
Suck
gonna
it, Henry.
He's gonna haunt,
R.I.P. Henry.
he's gonna haunt your dreams.
Yeah. As long as I could remember. I always wanted to haunt your nightmares. But yeah, and it's just brilliantly paced, and how the first half of the movie, when everything's good, it's just these long, continuous shots, and then as the drugs have infested their whole
it
world,
goes
and
crazy.
they think the FBI is coming after them, it's just quick cutting and
Like
handy
zoom
cams
ins,
and
too.
jars, and zooms, because it's just that sporadic nightmare of a world that they're living in, and I think it's just this brilliant symbol of the American dream, but told through bad people.
Yeah. Well, it's it's
Yeah.
the American dream on the flip end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly what
yeah.
it is. People think
Right.
the American dream is all sunshine and rainbows, and it's like no. There's a darker side of it too, and here it is. So and it's thrust right in your face.
Yeah. Number 2 here, Star Wars.
Yeah, get it.
The first one,
Yeah, I'm gonna say the first one. Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to take the cop out and be like the first 3, but that's cheating, kind of.
Amen.
So Empire doesn't have a real ending, and you kind of need New Hope in order to even appreciate Empire. So I would say New Hope is the only structured,
That's
solid
fair.
beginning to end film.
That's fair.
And
You don't like
for
the
all
one with the teddy bears in it, honey?
yeah, believe it.
See, I like Return.
Yeah.
I like Return of the Jedi.
For all the crapping I do on Star Wars on this show, I hope that it's clear that I still am a fan. It's number 2 on my goddamn
Number 2.
list.
You seem
Yeah.
like you hate it, and I live with you. Just so you know.
And number 1, talk about movies that made you want to be a filmmaker and structured the type of movies, like the way I want to tell stories, is Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, knew it.
No Batman on your list.
No.
No, I had to think of
You of all people, no Batman.
It's
well,
like I don't
just
even
like you,
know
I grew up with it. It was my favorite film for years. Tim Burton, for the longest time, was my favorite filmmaker. It made me want to be a filmmaker.
Until you
I was
matured and you're just
astonished by
like,
it. Yeah.
what the fuck happened to you, Tim Burton?
Yeah.
Until he broke our
Well,
hearts.
just in the way that Tim Burton, for many, many, many years is no longer my favorite filmmaker. I appreciate Batman '89 more now than I could say it's in my top 10. It's in my honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
is Dark Knight.
Your
in my
8,000 honorable
Yeah.
mentions.
But yeah, Doctor Strangelove is just probably the most brilliant satire I've ever seen, and for them to have the balls to go doom and gloom at the end of that movie,
Yeah.
everyone dies.
You also did this in the middle of the Red Scare, right? Like this was happening during those
1964.
years when it was all, the communists are going to get us, blah, blah, blah.
In a generation too where you can't make movies like that. Like I
Right.
remember, in the late '60s, you started to get transgressive movies, and
Yeah.
they're, oh, how shocking, a black man and a white man working as cops together, or oh, this white woman's dating a black man and he's coming to dinner,
Or this black man is the hero in a zombie apocalypse. We can't have that. That's a very right.
Yeah.
That really was towards the end of the 60s.
But yeah, just a brilliant satire, funny as hell. All kinds of different comedy, but just a movie that was willing to say, here's how messed up this world we're living in, and how something that is this scary is also, it's bafflingly stupid. It's a cartoon. It's a sideshow.
It very much is.
You know, and as terrifying as somebody like Trump is, he's also a carnival clown sideshow.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost funny if it wasn't true.
It'd be funny if it wasn't so sad.
Yeah, so that's the list. I can't believe the things I left off the list, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's my top 10. I'll probably shake and stir tonight and not be able to sleep because I'm like, oh, I should have put that in there.
Hey, the blog is meant for our honorable mentions. You know, we'll put them on the site.
Picks.
Yeah,
great picks.
So yeah, if anybody wants to like start their list of what they want to cuddle up with this winter when it gets cold, and all you want to do is watch movies on TV.
I feel we really bared our souls in this episode.
Yeah, we put it out there.
I feel naked.
Really did.
And if you guys think you're crazy for liking that one that much, let us know.
Yeah, tell me. I'd be curious.
Laine, where can I find you at on the Twitter machine?
You can find me at LA_Croft.
John?
The Unreal J Wolves.
You can find me at Brian Kindhouse or on the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you want to tell us, hey, your movie pick sucked, and mine are better, you can contact us at cinepsychoshow.com. And make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes and catch a new episode available every Sunday.
You can also find me under your bed with razor-sharp teeth and eyes glowing red.
Epicast.